Hello again and welcome back to another one, and today we have a couple of topics to cover as while we wait to see what Eminem has planned for the 29th with the Slim Shady vs Marshall face-off. We got to find out that Eminem's new album Controversy has now reached some strange audiences, as on one end we've seen professional critics pan the album because it had quote offensive lyrics like Eminem quote dissing pronouns and picking on little people, and on the other end we've seen talking heads like Candace Owens straight up ready to throw hands.
I just feel like I could beat him up. I think I could beat Eminem up in a fight. That's how I feel now.
But in my opinion, we got to the best one yet from Tucker Carlson's podcast with country musician John Rich. And unlike Candace Owens, who could make it to the lyrics that she clearly still didn't understand, this time around they didn't even bother. The song titles were enough to make them throw a fit, and we'll expand on this in a bit. And the reactions are even better, as apparently Tom McDonald did God's work by kicking Eminem from the #1 spot on Billboard, or so we were told, and we'll expand on this momentarily. Today we also have more from hip-hop legend Rakim, who recently spoke about the importance of the Kendrick versus Drake battle that he believes signifies the difference between real hip-hop and mainstream hip-hop, and we'll expand on this in a bit. And today we'll be starting with what looks to be Drake trolling Kendrick Lamar using lyrics from Not Like Us, as Drake reposted this video on IG stories. And he shared it with the caption, "Sometimes you gotta pop out." And boy, hip-hop fans on social media look to have truly turned on Drake for the most part, as this was met with reactions like, just like his fans, "Drake can't let the L go either," loudly crying emoji. And more on this note, and they said he wasn't bothered and not losing sleep. Kendrick owned him forever, loudly crying emoji. And while this was on, we got what looks to be damage control from Kai Cenat, as if you recall, when Joe Budden was recently roasting Drake, claiming Kendrick sent him to another genre, he made a specific statement about how Drake is using Kai to preview raps.
Oh my God.
Right, Drake should have kept that.
God damn.
Drake should have kept that one for himself.
He slapped that nigga into another genre. That nigga Kendrick fucking God. Hey, I'm happy about it.
Yeah.
I like House Drake.
Hey, I like Drake.
Don't you try to rap. Don't you rap.
Hey, I like Drake with
Don't
the
you do
melodies,
no rapping
so.
now for the summer now.
That's a backhand.
Don't you do no rapping now.
Backhanded
You
compliment.
send them raps to Kai and let him preview it.
What he told him?
You send them raps to Kai and let him preview it.
What he told him?
Well, although Kai did not straight up call out Joe Budden for that statement, he provided some context that directly addresses those claims made by people like Joe Budden a few hours ago. Check out a snippet.
Gave me the here's the thing about clips, bro. The clips doesn't explain the full story. So dumbass idiots see shit and just run with it, right? So when Yachty sent me the track with him and Drake on it, they was coming at Drake as if and saying that he sent me it, like he sent me it to play it. Like, you feel me? Then on top of that, they was on my ass for me, like the way I was reacting because I was yelling because I didn't know that Drake was on the track. Word to my mother, Yachty sent it to me live. I asked him live, can I leak the whole thing? He said, yeah. I played it. I didn't even know Drake was on the track. You know what I could have did with that? I could have took the unreleased and ran up a milli with that motherfucker, bro. That's why I reacted the way I did. Cause I had an unreleased Drake tag. Nigga, my family would have been extra good.
However, some have called this damage control on Kai's part, with takes like, why isn't Drake angry that it was leaked? And isn't Yachty and Drake nail appointment buddies? It doesn't matter, bro. They use your platform to test out their song. It is okay, bro. No need to explain yourself either. Laughing emojis. And some even expanded that they did the same with the Push-Ups leak. He's testing the water just like he did with Push-Ups. Send a minion like Yachty or lick it out and act like it didn't come from him to see how the audience is feeling it. And for those who believe Drake was just testing the waters by using Kai, even though Kai said he had no idea Drake was on the song, have hit back with, dude can tell you something and you still wouldn't listen because you already got your mind made up. Gotta respect the hate, I guess. And the fact that Kai refused to name drop Joe Budden hasn't stopped users from tagging Joe. At Joe Budden, I don't know if you saw, but he's talking about losers like you who wanna pretend like Drake sent him the record. Personally, if I was Joe Budden, I wouldn't let this slide.
Dumbass idiots see shit and just run with it, right?
That's just me though. Straight up called him a dumb bum idiot for pushing that narrative. And hip-hop legend Rakim recently had a chat with Billboard, and he was asked, how closely have you paid attention to the Drake and Kendrick thing? Because Drake is one of those artists that gets a knock for being a R&B dude, even though he is battle-tested. He represents the mainstream, and Kendrick represents the genre in a more traditional sense to most rap fans. And according to Rakim, this was an important battle. Check it out. I think that it was important because these brothers are at the top of the game and revered hip-hop. You know, a lot of people in that position won't accept no challenge because they got too much to lose. So it was dope that these brothers put the mainstream success down and said, yeah, let's do it. The battle put a lot of things in perspective because it showed the difference between real hip-hop and mainstream hip-hop. Younger artists now know that there's a difference. A lot of them didn't even understand that. They just listened to the majority, not knowing that a lot of people didn't categorize what they were hearing as real hip-hop. The battle was very needed for the genre. I tip my hat to them brothers. Let's just hope that it stays to the music. And the fact that Rakim said it showed the difference between real hip-hop and mainstream hip-hop has been taken as a Drake diss by some fans, as it sparked reactions like, I dare Aubrey to say some wild-ish about Rakim. He would have the entire community at his neck ASAP. And more on this note, now Drake gonna sneak this Rakim of all people. Well, he could also hide behind the fact that ASAP Rocky is also called Rakim. But what are your thoughts on that statement? I don't believe Rakim meant it as a diss, but I can see why some people could interpret it as a Drake diss. Thoughts? And moving on, you know Slim Shady is back when people don't even have to look up lyrics to get triggered, and this happened off the track list alone. And this was the case on the Tucker Carlson show with John Rich a few days ago. First, check out a snippet.
As of this morning, it's one of the top downloads in the country.
It's in the top 5-ish right now of all genres of downloaded songs. It's battling people like Eminem, who I looked up his record just to see what Eminem's doing. One of the titles on his record is just called Evil. One is called Lucifer, and one is called Antichrist. How crazy is that? It burns! And so I see Eminem and Revelation. Of course, he's got the entire machine behind him. I don't have anybody. I don't have any physical machine behind me. And so to watch those two songs sitting there coexisting was a pretty striking.
When you say machine, what are you talking about?
Massive record labels, massive radio play, massive budgets to push and promote and manipulate media and get his song out there.
What is your record label doing for you?
My record label?
Yeah.
My record label is a P.O. box called Rich Records, LLC.
And just in case you're not following, this is about the notion that mainstream acts like Eminem knowingly or unknowingly promote the worship of evil and Satan or Shaitan. And we got more.
When did it become clear to you that this was a theology, that these people were working knowingly or not on behalf of evil, actual evil? When did that dawn on you?
Well, they got so arrogant with it, it seems like in maybe the last less than 10 years. I don't know what happened on their side, but I guess they got the green light to go all the way in. Even some of your biggest artists in the world, during their live concerts in full of giant stadiums, full of people, are doing these things out on the stage. In between their hit songs, they'll come out as just part of the production of the show. It's art. It's just art. There's a rapper named Lil Nas out there. When you see him giving a lap dance to the devil in his video, straight up, and they are not ashamed about it. You look at Eminem's new record where the titles are Lucifer, Antichrist, Evil. This is out right now. So I don't know what happened on their side to go pedal to the metal with it, but they absolutely did. What are we supposed to do in response to that? Just yell at it, scream at it, be disgusted by it? You can do all those things.
Well, the first thing you're doing is naming it. You're naming it, which I think is so interesting. You're calling it what it is. You're not falling for the lie, which is this is just art
Right.
It's more than that. I mean, maybe it's art. We can debate that, but it's certainly more than that. This is a theology. You're pushing a religion on me.
Yeah.
And it's a religion of darkness and lies.
But anyone who actually listened to Eminem's new album know it's got nothing to do with what they are talking about and what is insinuated in the interview, and this got some confused. He didn't bother to listen to those songs to see what Eminem was doing. That was certainly not called to the devil. It is character-driven and tongue-in-cheek. And more on this note, M's album is a satire, and those songs are named that for a reason. However, some disagree. You can make excuses for him. Even the teaser looked evil with that Antichrist baby. If it is not godly, it is for something else, not satire. But some chose to indulge. It is Slim Shady, his alter ego, which the whole concept of the album was to kill Slim off, aka killing his evil side. This is what you get when people with huge platforms speak from a place of complete ignorance. And here are some more examples. A few days ago, when this was reported, Tom MacDonald's You Missed is predicted to debut at #1 on Billboard's bubbling Under Hot 100, with a #1 debut on the digital song sales, around 19,000 downloads. We reacted back then with this. Some clown will quote this in the future and claim Tom MacDonald debuted at #1. The clown will also leave out the fact that it was bubbling under Hot 100 chart to push a narrative. No, I'm not making this up. It happened before already, and it went viral. And look what the cat dragged in. Under Tucker Carlson's video, Tom MacDonald's song You Missed kicked him out of the #1 spot on Billboard, and is 100% as independent as it gets. The song in question didn't even chart on the Hot 100, but apparently kicked out Eminem from #1. Misinformation everywhere, since Eminem wasn't even #1 on the Hot 100 to begin with, not #1 on the bubbling on the Hot 100, not #1 on the digital sales chart, since Houdini left the #1 spot on this chart weeks before Tom MacDonald dropped. So straight up misinformation everywhere, just to push a point. But overall, what are your thoughts on this new album getting pennies in a bunch across the quote political spectrum?
What year is this?
2000?
Share your thoughts below. Thanks for watching, and see you on the next one.